Ah, yes. The protagonist. The central character. The main guy. The big cheese of your story. Where would stories be without him? You can't have a good story without a good protagonist. Or at least that's what I think. Lots of people don't agree for some reason. Many people are fine with the big cheese being, well, the equivalent of blue cheese. But my personal 2 cents is that without a proper lens in your world, it is incredibly difficult to become immersed in your tale. But why? Well, let's reiterate what I said a little. Good stories are possible to have without compelling protagonists. Take Undertale, for example. The human is literally the worst character ever. Nothing they ever do is consistent, and they're like 80 things at once. But with how Undertale is structured, it doesn't need a compelling protagonist, just a way to view this wacky world, and have other characters do the heavy lifting. That's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep over the human being a playable brick. But when your game doesn't have a fascinating world to delve into, you get a terminal case of milquetoast white guy syndrome. So it's a tough balancing act, and it's much better to bank on having a well-made player character over a legion of fun side characters, since you're going to undoubtedly spend the most time with them anyway, being them and all. If you can replace your main character and have absolutely no changes to your story, you haven't made a good main character. So let's see a game that has a main character change and how it executes it flawlessly. Pizza Tower is a 2023 platformer video game that's basically like Wario Land, but with a hint of Sonic, and a zany art style that's a dash of SpongeBob SquarePants, a side of Courage the Cowardly Dog, and could I also get a Baja Blast with 2 chicken tacos? Peppino Spaghetti is the star of the show here. He's a down-on-his-luck pizza chef with crippling anxiety problems. Probably for good reason, considering he was in The War and stuff. But this is exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Peppino overreacts to everything. He's perpetually this sweaty old man who's stuck between a deer in headlights and a semi-truck. His character is genuinely really smart for what this game is trying to accomplish, because he's not a hero. He just really does not want to be here, and you really feel his struggle with dealing with this tower's nonsense, and he doesn't even utter a single word. Peppino's overall vibe is representative of the player's overall vibe when playing this game for the first time. This game's controls make absolutely no sense when you start playing. Why does holding the run button make you start moving forward? I'm not doing anything! Get back here! You will constantly be slamming into walls, getting flung around, getting lost, getting crushed, thrown around by random stage gimmicks, and Peppino's animations give you something to laugh at as this nonsense happens. And then, when you finally understand this, they make you learn another character. Are you serious? But Peppino's anxiety also serves the practical purpose during every level's escape sequences. Because when Peppino's sort of worried, wet old dog idle animation gets replaced with this quick, wide-eyed expression, you know that trouble is right around the corner. These two things, alongside the panic-inducing banger dubbed It's Pizza Time, lead to a blood-pumping experience that you really can't get anywhere else. But what happens when you've overcome the tricky trials of the entire game and escaped from the tower for the final time? Well, you're probably feeling pretty confident to do it all again, right? Good thing the noise is, too. The noise, or what I'm going to call him throughout this section, Theodore, is the secondary player character in this game, where you relive all of the same events Peppino just did, except Theodore is just a total douche and takes the credit for everything by filming a movie about it. So as you could probably expect, Theodore is much more arrogant and chaotic throughout the duration of this campaign. While Peppino hates being there, Theodore loves it. His moveset is much more focused on cool skateboard tricks rather than brute force strength. Also, many of those stage gimmicks are completely different when Theodore interacts with them, usually changing so he literally cannot lose to keep up with his persona, and overall demonstrating complete power over his set. While Peppino was experiencing real hardships in a stressful environment, Theodore takes the credit for it while also flexing how much power he has. What a guy. This perfectly demonstrates how much a protagonist means to a story. Even barring the gameplay changes, Theodore's animations and vibe make the game feel completely different. When you start Pizza Time, he starts dancing for some reason. I think he has rabies. And instead of It's Pizza Time playing, the custom track Distasteful Anchovy begins playing, which is much more chill and funky, perfectly suiting Theodore's energy while still incentivizing you to get out before the timer expires. It's hard to describe just how well this track works to show off the differences between Peppino and Theodore's personalities, so just take a listen. You feel feel so much more in control of Theodore, thanks in part to the experience you've gotten from having played the game before, but also due to his personality and extravagance. You don't even need to learn a second character. How nice! Overall, a protagonist's importance to a work cannot be underestimated. While you can make a compelling game, show, movie, or whatever else without a good or notable protagonist, you're going to need to make sure everything else is excellent. In fact, most of my favorite characters in media are just the protagonist. All characters are important, but the protagonist being bad is much harder to cover up when you spend all of your time with them. So if you can switch out your protagonist and have nothing change, you should rework your protagonist. Case closed. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm hungry. Oh wait, I don't even like soda.